Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about a book that I just finished, and that is The Magician King by Lev Grossman. And this is the second book in the series of The Magicians, and if you haven't read the first book, I do have a book video on it right here, so in case you haven't read it, because I don't want to spoil it for you because, this is the second book and things will be going crazy. So do check that out, and then when you're done, come back and we'll just talk about more about this book. So if you have read it, this book actually continues where we left off, where Quentin and his friends are pretty much now the king and queens of Fillory. And Fillory is pretty much that fantasy world that he always thought that was part of his books that he loved so much, but it turns out to be very realistic and very magical, and they are pretty much responsible for whatever happens. And not to mention they're also living the lifestyle of luxury, and they're kings and queens. But over time, Quentin himself is finding himself restless, bored, and all he wants to do is go out and just find an adventure. So during that time, they pretty much find out that there's this island called Outer Island that is not paying their taxes. So Quentin and his friend Julia decide to go and embark a trip to go all the way there. But then they learn about this mysterious key on this island called After Island. So they decide like, hey, this is an adventure that Quentin has been looking for. So they go to this island, they find this key, and then somehow it pretty much kicks them out of Fillory, and then they end up in the real world. And so they must find a way to get back. And during that time, he also must follow the path that Julia will be doing, because she is pretty much like not really like never went to break bells, and she's pretty much self-taught and known as a head witch. And so she must like show him like the way of the head witch, and he's pretty much they need to find a way to get back. So that's pretty much what it's about. And this book, actually, I had so much fun reading this book. I actually enjoyed it even more than The Magician, because this showed me like even much more world of Fillory, and it's pretty much like also I got to see more of the real world, and also find out see how the relationship between Julia and Quentin grow throughout the whole book. And also learning more about, in this book you will learn more about Julia and her side of things, and where she has been during that time that Quentin was studying at Breakville. And pretty much this book is really dark, and it's really crazy, and there's things that happen, and learning more about like, what if magic is gone? What would you do? And what to do with yourself, and seeing how Quentin discovered life, what would happen like if he's forced to live in the real world and he doesn't go back. And I think like that's a really nice thing, because he's kind of can be a bit whiny sometimes, like in the last book, and I'm like, what do you know about the real world? Pretty much you only been out like in college for a little while, and you just don't want to live there anymore, and you just want to leave, and you think it's all bad, but you haven't even explored the rest of it, and there's still more things to discover even in the real world. And it's pretty much like that. And also there's even more magical creatures that happen, and you got to see like the dark world of the witches that don't go to school and where they end up, and learn more about gods. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, that is what it is. So now I'm going to get into spoilers, so if you haven't read it, I totally say close your ears or turn this off, and then go read the book, and then come back, and then you get to hear more. So for the first part of the book, I was really interested and really wanted to know like where everybody left off, and I like to see like how many of the characters are finding their own place in the world. Like Ilya is pretty much living the luxurious life, and I think he's really funny. So because whenever he talks about his fancy stuff, he's pretty much very passionate about that. And also seeing Julia, because I don't really see her as much, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna like her as much, and I always thought that she was just snooty or snobby or whatever, and then it turns out to be very weird. But throughout the book, I find out I pretty much really appreciated her more, and finding out where she has been throughout that time, and where she's been through, it just was really crazy. And Quentin, who I pretty much had like a up and down feelings towards him, because part of him, I do understand like sometimes you can be very bored if you're just doing the same thing every single day, and you're bored and you just want to go out there. But I'm like, you just discovered something, chill out, yo. I mean, adventures will always be adventures, okay? You don't always have to be on the go every 5 minutes. And I do feel like he also suffers from like some type of identity crisis. He doesn't know who he is. And so when he pretty much had to go like on this venture to go find out why this island had to go taxes, but then he pretty much decides to go on this other venture, I also felt like it was kind of also reckless, because he didn't know what he was getting himself into. And him as a king, he pretty much doesn't know what his responsibility is. I don't even know why they need two kings when they clearly just need Ilya and Janet to run things. And Quentin and Julia pretty much can just go on adventures and do some other type of job. Maybe they could be like the generals or something, or some scouts. And so when they got locked out of after the Fillory world, I pretty much thought it was really interesting, that part of the world, because like seeing the real life and finding Julia's dark world of magic is pretty much really interesting. But at the same time, I also got a distaste towards Quincy because he was very snobbish and thinks that he's way better than everybody else. That yes, I got a degree in magic, so I'm better than y'all, and this ain't real magic. And I'm like, dude, don't judge. I mean, you don't know Julia, who she was. You don't know where she's coming from, and you're pretty much judging the whole situation. And pretty much I kind of relate to that because I tried going to college, but I pretty much am somebody that prefers the self-taught route, and it's kind of like being a judging person, thinking that you have a degree and you look down on people who don't. And so I kind of like relate to that in some way, because just because you're self-taught doesn't mean that you don't know anything. And so let's see. I also like the fact that I like the part when they went to Italy, the part where they found Josh and he had his own like Palacio, but the way it was when they found out who he was kind of funny. Like I do not have a key or something like that, or whatever it is. And so it was just funny. And I think he's becoming one of my favorite characters of the series so far because he's funny and he always has funny lines. And whenever they go off and tell each other stories of where they've been, it's just like always entertaining that way. So yeah. And let's see, towards the end, I pretty much was really much more sucked in towards the end because I wanted everybody to get back to where they were, but also saw the loss of like that one character that I was really sad about. And yeah, that's pretty much my thought. And also the end, I think that was very messed up ending. I pretty much did not like that Yuji Quentin pretty much like made a lot of sacrifices and he pretty much saved the world, and yet he got nothing out of it, and he pretty much got sent to Earth. But at the same time, I'm like, maybe it's for the best. You need to discover yourself on your own, and maybe you just needed something to do, and maybe you should appreciate where you lived, because he didn't really appreciate Fillory as much when he started living there and becoming a king, and he didn't appreciate his own official title enough to actually care much. He was more like, I just want adventures, I don't really care about this. And maybe he was not really meant to be a king. I think he was just meant to just be doing something else. So that's pretty much my thoughts on the book. Let me know in the comments below if you read this book and what you thought. And if you like this video, do click a thumbs up. And if you want to see more book reviews, do subscribe, because love to have you there. So until next time, keep on reading.